HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour is brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. It's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome in, Hunt and No Hill, on a Thursday from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. I am Hunt Palmer on the ones and twos back there. Mike Patel and Taylor Sharp. Appreciate y'all being with us. Jeremy out the next couple of days for his birthday vacay. So I'll be holding it down. Tomorrow T-Bob will jump in and we'll chat for a couple hours. But today it's a lot of me, and we're excited about it. It's a Throwback Thursday. We'll have a great moment in the LSU Ole Miss series. At the top of the second hour, we'll have a player who was on the field in that game as well, and a ton to get to here in the first hour. We'll talk a little bit of Heisman, some Super Bowl chances stuff, and then obviously a huge setback for the LSU basketball program yesterday, and we'll talk about that at the end of the hour. Jump into Bayou Ford chat on the YouTube channel. We'll be interacting there. Appreciate everybody for jumping on in on the YouTube side. I want to start a little different spot. Generally this time of the week we would be talking LSU and Ole Miss and be diving fully into that, but that's not the biggest story in LSU football this week. For the past 5 days, all of us that cover the program, that love the program, that follow the program, have been, in just fully invested in the termination of the head coach and what's next for the LSU football program. And that's obviously very natural. For us, it's a chance to turn over, and if you're a fan, turn over a new leaf, a fresh start, some hope, springing eternal, an opportunity for a new era. All this stuff can be very exciting. And there's nothing wrong with that, with feeling that way. And the last three guys who've taken that job have won a national championship. Let's see if the fourth guy can do it. But yesterday, I got a different side of it, and I want to talk a little bit about that to open today's show. I had some conversations yesterday with people inside the LSU football department. Various positions, roles, pay grades, tenure length, various people involved in LSU football. And twice the word fired was brought up. And that's not something we think about when we follow the football program. For us, the headline reads, Ed Orgeron fired at LSU football. And then so we think, okay, who's the next head coach going to be? But you don't think about everybody else in there, basically whose tenure is tied to Ed Orgeron. When that seat changes, a lot of things change. And I would describe the mood sometimes in my conversations over there yesterday as somber and sullen, downtrodden. Because you've got people that have now in a real difficult life situation. A lot of people listening to this have lost a job. It's not a very comfortable thing. But life goes on, and it makes things tough. I mean, Ed Orgeron is obviously very disappointed that his time as the head coach at LSU is ending, because this is a dream job for him. He said that multiple times. It's as good a job as you can have in college football. It's in his home state. He loves it here. And he's going to be disappointed that his time is up. And there's no doubt about that. But the fact of the matter is that he is in his late 50s and is walking away as a single man with grown children and $17 million to be paid out over the next couple of years. So the massive question marks don't necessarily exist for him. Again, hugely disappointing to lose a job. But he can kind of do whatever he wants. There are a lot of people over there in that building who are looking up going, after Thanksgiving, I may not have a job. That are looking up going, I'm probably going to have to move or get out of this profession. I've got a third grader. Probably going to have to move and change schools. I've got a wife who's settled in this home, and we're going to have to pick up and go where they'll have us. That's a tough spot. And again, it humanized it. We're all aware of these things. I'm not telling you something that you don't know, but it may not be something that you consider as this unfolds. So, yeah, these people have a job today, and they're going to get up and go to work. But the uncertainty is unsettling at the very least and depressing at the very most. Financially, it sucks. Stability-wise, it sucks. Relationship-wise, home-wise, travel. It's just, there's a lot that sucks, quite frankly, about this. And that hit home for me yesterday when I went over there and kind of saw it in person. And my heart goes out to those people. So there's been a lot of talk because of we're such a recency-biased society in the football world. How'd you do on Saturday? The mood is so totally different. The calls we take on Wednesday nights on the Tiger Zone are totally different when LSU wins and when they lose. LSU gets down 35-7 to Kentucky and loses. The calls are, when are they going to fire the coach? This team probably won't win another game all year outside of ULM. This is a disaster. It's a lost cause. And then LSU beats Florida and runs the football. I've gotten multiple phone calls this week that said, what if they run the table? I know it's unlikely, but what if they run the table? How do you go from those two extremes in one phone call? And I bring this up just to say it's going to be a difficult run through the rest of this season for everybody in that building. For the players who don't know who their next coach is going to be or next position coach is going to be, whose recruiting promises are being taken out the window with their head coach. For the coaching staff who doesn't know if they'll be retained, if they want to work for the next guy, where they'll be going, where they'll be moving. And you've got to all the while keep it together and try to win football games. I don't think that effort is going to be an issue once the guys get out on the field. When they get there on Saturday, that place is going to be full and rocking. Lane Kiffin is pleading with the Ole Miss fans to create a good home environment. He flatly told them this week, the fan base, we had an unbelievable atmosphere when we went to Tuscaloosa. It was nuts there. And we went to Knoxville, and it was nuts there. I'm notwithstanding throwing golf balls and mustard bottles. I get that, not exactly what you're talking about. But there was such a great environment in those places, and we can do that here. Let's do it, which means we haven't done that. I've been here for a few home games in a non-COVID year, and we have not created the energy that everybody else is in the league. They're going to come out in a huge bolt of energy in that stadium, and I think LSU will play hard. It's just the weeks that are going to be difficult on this team to stay focused. There are a lot of different angles to look at it. One, how big a competitor are you? How much do you want to win? How committed are you to being a professional, if you're a staff member in there, to putting out the best product you possibly can every single day? Two is, are you working towards your next job? Are you trying to create a resume? Because I think Durante Jones and Jake Peets were given this opportunity. It's difficult to imagine a new head coach coming in and keeping those guys in their positions as coordinators because they've never done it before. This would be their first year. That's tough. It's not impossible, but it's tough to see. So those two guys, what can they do over the last 2 months to ensure that people notice them and people realize, yeah, this is a job they can definitely do? They're trying to prove themselves. So that's another angle that you can look at here. But the uncertainty and the gloominess just kind of stood out to me. And I think that that's going to be difficult to shake over the last couple of years. I think there will be some weeks that are better than others. Certainly winning games in a football office, it changes the entire tenor of things, just like it does in the fan base. So if they can go win a game, man, you start to feel pretty good, going into the bye. It's a little bit, it takes something off. You start to lose and you realize the end is near. Things can unravel pretty quickly. So again, I said after the Kentucky game that I thought LSU had enough talent that they would stay in some games. So those that were forecasting that LSU would have no chance the rest of the way because they can't run the ball and they're losing games. And no, they got some talent. They figured it out last year, and they did it again against Florida. But I think those who think that they've got this thing figured out and the ship is totally righted and they're going to run off a bunch of wins, I'm not necessarily there either. I think it's going to be a tough go. I think that they'll have some weeks that are better than others. But the point of this opening segment is not necessarily to talk about the wins and losses that are coming. It's the fact that, man, these decisions that are made by high-level administration when you overturn the top of a football program affect so many people. And I saw that when I was having some conversations over at Football Ops yesterday. So, look, the best to all those guys. I told multiple guys over there, and girls actually, that I'm I'm an alum, and there's a bunch of people like me that are supporting this group that want the Tigers to do well, want them to do well, and are going to support them throughout the next couple of months as the Tigers take the field every Saturday but one. And my sincere hope is that the listenership kind of feels that as well, and that you go out there and you support the team when they come into Tiger Stadium and realize that it's there's some things that go on outside of football, and those people are affected. So just something that I had a personal experience with that wanted to share as we open the show today. Jeremy is out the next couple of days. He is having a little bit of vacation. He's in the chat. Jeremy, would you go on vacation and get out of the chat? Said he's serving a 3-day suspension. If you're going to get in the chat, you might as well show up to work, man. Guys leaving in Tiger Zone last night, going to dinner, flying down south, and enjoying some margaritas. We're here burning the midnight oil, working. So big show today. We want to talk a little bit about Adam Miller. He obviously tore his ACL yesterday, LSU shooting guard. I have some thoughts on what that may mean for the program at 12:45. Throwback Thursday presented by AccuTemp is going to kick off our second hour. Very excited about that one. A great game in Tiger history, and we did track down somebody who was on the field that day. We'll have Big Fave, Marlon Favorite, at the end of the show. No take it or leave it today because there's not two of us. Doesn't really work. But Big Fave is going to come on and talk a little LSU and Ole Miss. When we come back on the other side of this timeout, I've got some thoughts on the Heisman halfway through. It's pretty interesting to look at the contenders, what they've got left, and I'll give you my pick who I think is going to win the Heisman. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are now open for business and are ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing off I-10 in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crews at Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram are going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, the place that's going to be convenient for you during an inconvenient time. Look, you hear me talk about my 4 boys all the time, and sometimes things like stitches, well, they happen. And in fact, they have. And Patient Plus is always taking care of us, just like they'll do the same for you. And now with 7 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., 7 days a week. And also at patientplusuc.com, you can sign up for your appointment on the way to the clinic. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
If home is where the heart is, a roof is a shield. That's why for over 25 years, South Louisiana always turns.
On Thursdays, early line, we let the dogs out and make some underdog picks for Week 7 in the NFL and Week 8 in college football. Plus, our fantasy football thought of the day and MLB playoff picks with Tyler Moody. Join us at 2 p.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here solo, Hunt and Hill. Just Hunt today. Jeremy leaving on a jet plane, but still posting in the Bayou Ford chat from time to time. We appreciate his commitment to the gig, I guess. Thanks for that, Jeremy. Now go on vacation. Talk a little bit about Adam Miller here at the end of the hour. Some Super Bowl thoughts coming up in the next segment. But here, I want to talk Heisman because it's been kind of a quiet year on the Heisman front. You don't have the monster celebrity. You don't have Trevor Lawrence coming back or Tua coming back, guys that you really thought had a huge chance to break out. Not break out. They'd already broken out and they were going to kind of finish their career with a Heisman Trophy. You got some turnover at some of those marquee positions at big schools. So it's really kind of an open race. And I think this weekend, LSU faces the guy who might be the favorite right now. He's certainly the betting favorite in Vegas, in Matt Corral. He's got what's going for him is he's got the RG3 thing. He's kind of carrying a middling program to places they normally aren't. And he's throwing for 288 a game. He leads Ole Miss in rushing. He's thrown 14 touchdowns and 1 pick. And he was brilliant on the ground against Tennessee. He's going to stuff the stat sheet, we know. And Ole Miss is right now in a very good position. Now, Ole Miss has some significant work to do. And that's the other end of this discussion is the people that we run through here, what their opportunities are to have their moment and cement their spot. And Corral's got LSU in the 2:30 slot this week, which is a big, important slot, even though LSU's down a little bit. That's going to have some eyeballs on it. He's at Auburn, who's playing very well. That's a big spot that he can go ahead and make a move. He's at home against Texas A&M, who's still carrying a little bit of cachet, especially off that win against Alabama. And then he's got his last regular season game is the Egg Bowl on the road on Thanksgiving, which gets a lot of eyeballs. So again, I think Ole Miss gets a lot of eyeballs against LSU, Auburn, and Mississippi State. The question is, can they win enough games to keep him relevant? If they lose 3 of those 4, I think his case falls flat with 4 losses. That's more the issue. I think Corral will continue to put up big stats. I've said it many times. I think he's the best player in the country. But if your record is that bad, I don't think they're going to give it to you. So while I think Matt Corral right now is the betting favorite, I don't think he's necessarily got the best chance to do it. So who are the guys that are sneaking around the chicken coop that may be able to figure this thing out and win it? Well, obviously, you've got to go to Bryce Young. He's playing a high profile for the top program in college football. He's throwing for 300 yards a game. He's thrown 24 touchdowns. That's 10 more than Corral, and 3 interceptions. Now, he doesn't have any rushing stats to speak of. So there's something that Corral's got a feather in his cap, and everyone realizes the surrounding talent that's around Bryce Young. He's got a game against Tennessee this week. Okay. He's got LSU. That's usually a huge spot. Is it, especially if LSU goes and loses to Ole Miss? We'll see. Arkansas, I don't know if that's going to draw any eyeballs. And the Iron Bowl is always going to be a big deal. Bryce Young's chance to do this for Alabama to run the table and him to put up stats that nobody else in the country can compete with. At that point, he'll be on what's likely a playoff team. He'll have an opportunity against Georgia, which would be huge, and he could win it there. And I think the Iron Bowl and the Georgia game are all that Bryce Young's going to have in terms of his moment, because Alabama's lost a game and the next three aren't that exciting to the country. So he's not my favorite moving forward. That's not where I would lean. Now, Kenneth Walker, the running back from Michigan State, is interesting. He's running for 6.5 yards a carry. He's going to go over 1,000 yards this week, and we hadn't even gotten to Halloween yet. And he's got some real opportunities on big stages for Michigan State. This week they got Michigan, who's in the top 10. That's a top 15 game. That's a big spot. You run for 205 in that one, you'll get the nation looking. They're at Purdue, who's all of a sudden ranked off their big win over Iowa last week. I don't think that's going to move the needle, but they're ranked. Maryland, Then he's at Ohio State. That's a huge spot there. And then they finish the season against the top 10 Penn State team. They play 3 teams that are in the top 7 moving forward. Michigan, at Ohio State, and Penn State. He's got huge moments that the nation will be watching. I've said this all week. The Big Ten is the most interesting conference in the country. I know we're all locked in the SEC, and trust me, at 11 o'clock, I'm not turning the Big Ten on very often. I usually put on the bad SEC game that comes on at 11. But the nation as a whole, as college football fans, the Big Ten and who wins the divisions and who can make the playoff, that's more interesting than Georgia running the table and Alabama beating the brakes off everybody down the stretch. Kenneth Walker's not a name a lot of people know, a name we probably should be following because obviously Mel Tucker's been mentioned a lot. But he's got some big-time opportunities, and his statistics are really good early in the season. The question is, can Michigan State keep up? They're we'll see what they can do against Michigan. Who's the paper tiger in that game? I don't think Purdue's any good. That's whatever. Can they run the ball? Can they hold their own with Ohio State? I don't think so. They lose to Ohio State and Penn State, you can cross him off. So while the opportunities are there for Kenneth Walker, I don't think that's your guy. Here's my guy. Here's the guy that I think is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Talking about a guy who in the first game completed 13 passes, had a pick. His team was on the ropes and shouldn't have been. They came out next week and lost, do another pick. Played Tulsa the next week. 15 of 25, a touchdown and a pick, just 185 yards. Nothing really doing for a 1-2 team that hadn't really shown much. And then all of a sudden, Ohio State found their giddy up. And C.J. Stroud is humming now. Now, these are bad teams they played. I get it. But over the last 2 weeks, he's thrown for 736 yards and 10 touchdowns without a pick. His team is better than the teams that they're going to be playing against. He's at Indiana this week. Then he's got a top 10 game with Penn State at home. They go to Nebraska, got Purdue, play number 9 Michigan State, and then they've got number 6 Michigan on the road. Those are going to be high-profile games against Michigan State and Michigan. And his stats are going to be huge. And I think they're going to win the Big Ten. And I think he's going to ride these huge numbers, this late-season charge, and some gaudy stats against Michigan State and Michigan. And he's going to take the Heisman Trophy. That's my prediction, is that C.J. Stroud, who started so slowly, is going to do it because I just don't see anybody that's jumping up to wrestle it away. Those RG3 years are so rare, where a guy from off the radar comes in and wins it at a program that we're not accustomed to putting out those kind of results. It's more often than not coming from LSU, from Alabama, Ohio State. I'm sure Clemson will get theirs. You know, you could say Manziel was a little off the radar. Texas A&M, they won 10 games that year. And if Matt Corral leads this Ole Miss squad to 10 wins, they go 10-2, he's right back in the mix for it. Question is, do you think they can do that with LSU this week, at Auburn, A&M, and at Mississippi State? None of those are layups. So I think it's fascinating to sit back here before Halloween and have this thing be wide open. I think it'll sort itself out. It usually does, and there's usually not a ton of suspension when it's we get to Heisman Day. Somebody usually puts their throat on it and wins it. I think everybody kind of knew that what Devontae Smith had done was enough. Burrow won by the biggest margin ever. So we kind of know. I think this one has a chance to go longer. And to me, maybe the most important thing is wins and losses. And it's supposed to be an individual award, but I think wins and losses against these high-profile teams are what going to win it. And I've got some people talking about, well, look, Corral had his chance in Tuscaloosa, and he was terrible. He wasn't terrible that day. They didn't run the ball very well, and they went for it on fourth down, and it didn't go very well. But he played okay. And he's been really gutsy the last couple of weeks. I expect to see him on Saturday in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, and LSU's got a chance to derail it. Of course, Keaton's in there saying that Corral loses the Heisman on Saturday. Yeah, he throws 5 more picks on Saturday. Yeah, it's probably over. If he throws 5 picks, he'll probably lose, and he'll drop on out of that race. But we'll see. I still think this is really fascinating. John DeLone in the Bayou Ford chat says, I'm not stalled on Ohio State riding the ship because they're beating bad teams. When they struggled against better teams, they looked like they just didn't want to fight to win. I just think there's a comfortability level with the freshman quarterback that Ryan Day's kind of found, and they're always going to be the most talented team in the Big Ten. They're more talented than Penn State. They're more talented than Michigan State. They're more talented than Michigan. And that's why they almost always win. And I think that they have, I mean, look, Rutgers and Maryland aren't any good. I got you. And Minnesota and Oregon are certainly better. But I think that Ohio State's kind of figured some things out, and I think over the next couple of weeks they'll assert their dominance. That's my guess. If I'm wrong, we'll see. Got a text in from Chris Jenkins, unabashed Bama homer. Says Bryce Young will win the Heisman. I hope not. I don't want any good things happening in Tuscaloosa. Not a single one. But we'll see. It's going to be very, very interesting. Let's come back, talk a little NFL next on Hunt and Hill.
Serving up the latest from the sports world. It's Hunt and Hill. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
And our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Ruffino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark in studio, our Fantasy Blitz, and a closer look at the Ole Miss Rebels. Join us Thursday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Throwback Thursday coming at you in 30 minutes. A little bit of a different tone to Throwback Thursday this week. I'll leave it at that, but excited for that. Presented by AccuTemp here at 1 o'clock. I'm getting roasted in the chat a little bit, as is tradition. And, you know, when you open yourself up and say stupid things, people are going to remember them and tell you that they were stupid. And William Ivey is busting me, saying that, remember everyone, Hunt was all over Vandy to cover for sure a few weeks ago. Stupidest thing you could possibly do is bet on Vanderbilt to cover and be sure of it because they're terrible. But William Ivey continues to bring that up. I was all over him against UConn, and they needed a last-second field goal to beat one of the worst teams in the country, and they did not cover. So my apologies to any of those out there that took that bet. Back to the Heisman stuff a little bit before we get to the NFL. Mike and Mary Hoggard, you love the old shared username in the Bayou Ford chat. If there's ever been a year that an outlying position that's not quarterback, running back, or wide receiver could win the Heisman, Jordan Davis from Georgia has a great claim. I'm on board with that. I think if you show yourself to be the best player in college football on the defensive side, that you should absolutely be considered to win the Heisman Trophy. I contend that Tyron really would have had a chance if he scores a touchdown against West Virginia right before the half. He blitzed off. He blitzed off the edge, tipped it in the air, caught it, and ran it back to the 1. And LSU ended up throwing a touchdown to Chase Claymaugh right before the half. That would have been another touchdown. And then if he scores on the second punt return against Georgia, against Arkansas, and LSU was up against it against the number 3 team in the country. He ran a punt back to kickstart that thing, and they went nuts. And then he did the same thing against Georgia the next week. Ran a punt back, and that got LSU going when they couldn't even get a first down against Georgia. And then he had another chance, and he was juking everybody on the field. Still one of the most unbelievable punt returns I have ever seen live. Probably the most amazing punt return I've ever seen live, and he didn't even score. If he breaks that last shoestring tackle and scores, you're going to have to consider him. He scored a touchdown against Oregon. He scored a touchdown against Kentucky. He ran 2 kicks back there late. You would have added 2 more to that. You would have been talking about a defensive player and a special teams guy that had scored 5 touchdowns for the number 1 team in the country and had used a defense that basically carried an offense that was not very good throwing the ball. That offense was better than people think because they ran the ball so well. In this day and age, that doesn't really play as much. You don't really recall things that way. But he would have had a real chance to win it if he adds 2 more touchdowns to that, because it was a year, where Robert Griffin won it and he was down the line a little bit. I'm all for Jordan Davis winning the Heisman Trophy. I think he's been great. But the fact of the matter is that these quarterbacks and running backs are going to separate themselves as their teams continue to win and they roll up these unbelievable stats. But again, I think I'm all for defensive players. You got to make a huge impact, though, because one guy on defense has a tougher time making an impact than a guy that actually has the football does making an impact. But I'm all for it. Let's talk about a little bit of NFL. This is the time every week where we go through our Super Bowl chances. Obviously, Jeremy's not here, so I'll kind of run through mine briefly. I have some more thoughts, and I think I've trimmed it down, honestly, about as far as it's going to go for a few weeks. Jeremy's been a little more selective than I have. I have been chopping people left and right over the last 3 weeks. But I'll get you what my list looks like now as I make one more revision today. I still like the Packers. They have won 5 straight after their opener. Rodgers is still playing as good as anybody in football. That stuff he did with the Bears I thought was hilarious last week with the I own you. I'm all for giving teams and fan bases the business when you do something positive on the field. You don't need the greatest sportsmanship that ever existed. You want to get in somebody's kitchen a little bit and show a mental edge over them, say I own you. I'm all about it. Rodgers is playing awesome. I think that's the only team in that division that can win the Super Bowl. The Bucs have the best run defense in the league, and they've got an MVP candidate at quarterback. He's 113 years old, but he is slinging the football. They're still very, very good. The Cardinals are undefeated, and they've got Houston coming up next. One thing that jumps off the page to me about the Cardinals, when I say Cardinals, you think of 2 people. You think of Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. You think of Big 12, throwing it around, scoring points, high-flying, got those great receivers out there, and that's what you think of. They're number 2 in the league in opponent points per game. They're playing some defense, and that's part of the reason they're undefeated. I think they are absolutely a Super Bowl contender. I love Jeremy's pick. The Rams, they're playing great. Stafford's reborn, and McVay's got it cooking with him over there. We talked about that yesterday. I think the Bills are the favorite to win the Super Bowl out of the AFC, so I will take them. I still believe in the Ravens with the great run game. I'll go with the teams that I'm still leaving. I still believe in the Chiefs, even though their defense stinks. They've got a great coach and a great quarterback, and you just get into the playoffs, and they can win any given game scoring 50 on you. I'm all about the Chiefs, even though I think the Bills are better. And if they've got to go up to Buffalo, I would certainly pick the Bills, as I did a couple of weeks ago in that game. And then I still think the Chargers are hanging around. The Browns are toast. I'm taking them off my list. They were a fun pick before the year, and they've got some good players. But look, you're 22nd in the league in scoring defense, and your quarterback just went out. They've beaten the Texans and the Bears, and then a nice win over the Vikings. The last 2 weeks, the Chargers beat them 47-42, and then they got smoked by Arizona 37-14. The Baker boys injured. Odell's still coming back. Where's Jarvis? I don't know. They got some guys. Myles Garrett's great. But their defense stinks right now, and I just can't sit here and point to that team as one that I think can possibly win the Super Bowl. I am out on the Cleveland Browns. They are done. So I don't see any scenario in which I look at this list here and pull any of these teams, barring a huge injury, or if the Chiefs' defense gives up 50 the next 2 weeks. But out of the NFC, Packers, Bucks, Cardinals, and Rams. Packers, Bucks, Cardinals, and Rams. Out of the AFC, Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers. I've got 8 left that I think can win the Super Bowl in my list. We screwed up with the Cowboys. That's pretty obvious. They're really good. And it's going to make a lot of people around these parts very uncomfortable because everyone around here hates the Cowboys. And that's fine. I grew up in a pro-Cowboys household. I no longer feel that way. When Quincy Carter starts taking snaps, you really lose interest pretty quick. Quincy Carter managed to come to the Bossier-Shreveport Battle Wings and get arrested in Shreveport. You got to work hard to get arrested in Shreveport. Jerry Jones drafted him because of one game at Georgia against LSU. And once he took the reins and they were terrible, young Hunt just lost interest. I really liked when Troy Aikman was slinging it around. Emmett was running for $150 a game. Irvin, Alvin Harper, Dion, Charles Haley. That was fun. Darren Woodson, Moose Johnson, Jay Novacek. But I lost my interest. And they've been kind of a laughingstock for years. But I think it's kind of time you look at it and go, this might be the ticket. I mean, I realize that Jerry Jones may do something to screw it up. He likes to get in the middle of things. That's the only one that we started off with and just whiffed on because we thought the entirety of the NFC East was going to be terrible. And so we'll see what Jeremy thinks when he comes back and whether or not he thinks that he's made a mistake here or if he's willing to start paring this thing down. He's still got some teams I think stinking here. He's still got the 49ers. They're not winning the Super Bowl. He's still got the Seahawks. They're not winning the Super Bowl. He's still got the Browns. They're not winning the Super Bowl. he's got to be a little bit more selective, and I'll get on that. Jeremy, if you're still listening, which you should not be, you should be enjoying your vacation, post it in the chat here. You've got way too many teams here that can win the Super Bowl. Those teams are not going to do it. We don't have the Saints on either, and we'll see them on Monday. Excited to go to Seattle and talk with Sharif, who's going to go up there and cover the team. We got Throwback Thursday coming at you in 20 minutes. A little bit of a different tone and tenor this week. Accutemp bringing you that, and we've got a player who was on the field for that game that'll join us in the second hour. Marlon Favorite as well will join us to end the show. But I do want to finish this hour with some bummer news. LSU loses a huge piece to their 2021-22 basketball season. Will Wade's going to join the media via Zoom a little bit later this afternoon. We'll have some sound from that tomorrow. But obviously a disappointing blow as Adam Miller will not play for LSU this year, and I think he was going to be a big piece. Incidentally, LSU going to Nichols for a 1 o'clock scrimmage down in Thibodaux for Hurricane Ida relief. Excited for some people to get some eyes on the Tigers down there on Saturday afternoon as they get ready for what still has some promise for a good season. But we'll talk about what the Adam Miller injury does for this LSU team and what I think needs to happen now. That's next as we finish hour number 1 on a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill.
Holding down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar.
Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
It's week 8 in the prep football season, and we get you started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview. Catholic High and Sanamaw kick off at 7, immediately followed by a full 2 hours of the Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, CST, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Out in the open field on a Thursday, T-Bob Hebert will join me tomorrow on these airwaves from noon to 2. Looking forward to chatting with T-Bob for a bit. Hadn't done it since we cranked this show up. Used to do it every Friday morning at 7:30, but T-Bob will join me. Just been a lot of me in the first hour today, and you'll get a little bit more of that to start off with Throwback Thursday in the second hour, but we'll have a couple of guests as well to chop things up. Nothing in this town can ratchet up expectations or excitement level for a season more than the previous sports season going south. You get a football team that loses a couple of games early, people start staring for that basketball team. Where is it? Basketball loses a couple of games there in late January. Okay, what's the baseball starting rotation look like? What do we got? What are we looking at here? That's the nature of what I see in my Twitter mentions, in my conversations when things start to go south. And clearly this football season has not started the way that we hoped, and you're looking at a coaching change, and so everybody kind of looks to basketball, and it's well documented how much I love basketball. I started a freaking basketball daily podcast when I was selling insurance every single morning before work for the last 3 years. I think this basketball program's in great shape. We'll see what happens here moving forward. But yesterday was a real gut punch as the report surfaced that Adam Miller, the talented two-guard transfer from Illinois, who started on a number 1 seed last year and led the Big Ten in threes made by a freshman, will not be playing for LSU this year as he's suffered an ACL injury. So what does it mean? Well, last year at Illinois, Miller averaged 8.3 points per game, and he shot 34% from three. Neither one of those are massive numbers. Wasn't like he went out there and shot 46% from three. Wasn't a 15-point-a-game scorer as a freshman. But he's on a really good team, and he kind of played a role. Hit a couple threes early against Duke and Cameron. When full Cameron, it was a COVID Cameron, but still started NCAA tournament games. Was a nice role player and was thought enough of, outside of that, to be a top 50 player in the country coming out of high school and to be on Team USA this past summer. He's a really hard worker, and I haven't seen this team work together, and high school film is difficult to evaluate versus college film when you start to put pieces together. He would have probably been my bet to lead this team in scoring. He was more of a spot-up shooter for Illinois last year, but he's a capable off-the-bounce scorer. He's capable of getting his own shot. I think would have been asked to do that a little bit more. And I think he probably would have led this team in scoring. Now, we'll see. There's some really talented dudes on this roster that may take that mantle. But I think he was going to be your leading scorer. So for me, yeah, this is a deep team. And we'll talk about the options that are going to fill in for Miller. It's a deep team. But when you lose a starter that's very likely going to be your leading scorer, or very possibly going to be your leading scorer, maybe I should say, that's bad. That is a bad deal. And it's not like they don't have any options, but this is a dude. And when I've talked to football guys all the time, and they always say next man up, and I feel like basketball guys feel the same. But if the next man up's not as good, your team's not as good, period. And this is a big loss. I think Miller would have been a really good spot-up shooter. There's reason to believe a freshman that shoots 34% as a sophomore or junior could shoot pushing 40, and that would be just massive to spread the floor with the talent that LSU's got to have a two-guard that could shoot it like that. And I make sure to specify that because what they've got behind him is less likely to be as productive. So let's get into that. Xavier Pinson's going to be the starting point guard on this team. He started at Mizzou the last couple of years. He was a big piece of that team. Now, they weren't very good. But the hope was that Pinson would be the guy who facilitated more. And Will Wade's talked a couple of times in interviews that, yeah, Pinson's really running the show for us. He's distributing. Missouri asked him to, or he took it upon himself, to do a lot more. He shot a lot, tried to score a lot. He was a volume shooter and not necessarily a high percentage shooter at Missouri. What bothers me is that it's probably going to fall more on his lap to score more with Miller out. His last 2 years at Missouri, he shot 28% from three and 34% to three. That really needs to come up, and if he shoots a high volume of them, I don't know that it is. He's going to be the primary option. That, I don't know if it'll be a good thing. Maybe it is. Maybe he makes some real strides and becomes an all-league type player. He's been a 2-year starter in the league. It's not wild to think so. It's optimistic, and I think it's a negative for LSU if he's taken more of Miller's shots away. So who are the other options? Well, Eric Gaines, you know. He played in every game last year for LSU, started a good bit, but in playing in every game, he averaged 2.5 points per game and shot 17% from three. Some of that, I think, was mental. You get off to a tough start, and you're a freshman, and now you're thinking about it every time you shoot the ball. And that's a tough spot to be in, but he's not going to be a great shooter. And he was going to be kind of a depth piece that can give you some good defense, playmaking ability, distribution ability, not necessarily a scorer. Now his minutes go up, and is that a great thing? That's optimistic to say it will be. Brandon Murray, he comes in. He's a bowling ball. He's a driver. You're not as effective as a driver if you don't have guys on the outside that can shoot it. Gaines shot it very poorly last year. Pinson hasn't been a great shooter. Days will help you there because Days was a 40% spot-up shooter last year, and that's a big deal. He widens the floor. But Miller was going to be your floor-widening guy, and now you don't have that. Does this open up the door for Justice Williams to play more? This is based on Will Wade's comments, not my thoughts or anything that I know from talking to anybody, but Justice Williams was a top 55, top 60 player in the country who reclassified recently and is coming to college a year early. It's to start his NBA clock a little bit earlier. But I don't think they were expecting him to play a huge role in this team. You had Pinson, you had Miller, you figured Gaines would help, Murray as well, and Wani Wilkinson's still in there. Not a spot where Justice Williams needs to be a huge role player on this team. Maybe some minutes in December against some of the lighter teams. Blowout minutes. Ease him into college. He's 6'3". He's a good scoring shooting guard. But he's a year younger. He's skinny, and he's young. Not supposed to be in college. How much does his role increase? I don't know. He's a set shooter. The shot looks a little bit more like Javonte Smart than it does Cam Thomas, kind of more of a set look. He's taller than Javonte, a little bit. But none of those options are as good as Adam Miller. And that's what I'm talking about when I say next man up. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, literally they're going to play, but we'll see. Miller was going to be a really big piece to this puzzle, and we'll hear Will Wade speak to the media at 4 o'clock today via Zoom, and we'll have some sound from that. You'll hear maybe on Matt's show, certainly tomorrow with the morning show boys, and Will cover it as well. But that's a huge blow and such a disappointing result before the season ever starts for an LSU team that I've got a ton of optimism for. I know they were picked 6th in the conference. That was what the SEC media put out earlier this week. I think they had every opportunity and still do to be better than that. It's a tough schedule, and now you've lost your starting 2 guard. They won't be the only team that suffers injuries, but man, if you're going to take some little bit of solace in it, it's that it happened now, and you've got an opportunity to kind of ramp some guys up a little bit more quickly than you thought. I think Murray, they love him. I think he's a great defender, and he's a driver. But it just sucks to have that happen to a kid. And so the question is that I've been asked is, does Miller come back? He was a guy who had eyes on the NBA, I think. It's going to be tough to miss a whole year when you've just been a freshman averaging 8 a game to take a leap. He's got eyes on the NBA, we know that, but whether or not that's something that he looks into after never playing for LSU, that's tough to tell. in basketball, you've got a situation now where it's not necessarily about the program. It's about building rosters year by year. We'll see where he fits, and maybe Will Wade will elaborate a little bit more on that. Certainly, that's not a decision that needs to be made right now and is not going to be front of mind. It's going to be getting healthy on Miller's end, and it's going to be, all right, how do we put this back together from LSU's end? But again, I think there's probably some people who go, oh, this is time for Murray to eat. Let's go and want it. He can play. Oh, we got Justice Williams. We'll be fine. He's a top 50 player. This is a guy who's on Team USA last summer. This is a guy who has started on a number 1 seed. It's a big, big loss. So hopefully LSU can find the points around him to make it work. That's it for hour number 1. We're fired up for a Throwback Thursday coming up at the top of hour 2. As always, that is brought to you by AccuTemp. They give you service to the highest degree for all your electrical, plumbing, HVAC needs. AccuTemp is your spot. Throwback Thursday coming up next. A great moment in Ole Miss history. Takes a little bit of a different tone. You'll want to hear that big fave at the end of the hour and somebody who was on the field for Throwback Thursday. Come back with us for hour number 2 on a Thursday. It's Hunt and Hill.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, the place that's going to be convenient for you during an inconvenient time. Look, you hear me talk about my 4 boys all the time, and sometimes things like stitches, well, they happen. And in fact, they have. And Patient Plus is always taking care of us, just like they'll do the same for you. And now with 7 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., 7 days a week. And also at patientplusuc.com, you can sign up for your appointment on the way to the clinic. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
Hand injury lawyers. Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
1 hour in the books on a Thursday. Opened up the first hour talking about how difficult this is going to be for the next couple of months for this LSU football program. We had a little Heisman talk as well as looking at teams we think can win the Super Bowl. Finished up with Adam Miller, LSU shooting guard, who will miss the will miss the entire season here in Baton Rouge after tearing his ACL in preseason practice. It's the whole first hour. If you missed it, you can go on demand, 1045ESPN.com, or on YouTube, where you can find the Bayou Ford chat. But now it's hour 2 on a Thursday, and that's where we throw it back into the Wayback Machine.
Throwback Thursday, presented by Accutemp, your AC and electrical experts.
Has to roll back to the near side, and he's going to throw it. Oh, it's going to be caught! Caught! Touchdown! Holy cow!
Hunt and Hill's Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday presented by Accutemp, service to the highest degree. The speed limit on Ole Miss's campus is 18 miles per hour. It's that way because a young man from the tiny town of Drew, Mississippi, took over the Magnolia State from 1967 to 1970. His name was Archie Manning, and he wore the number 18. When Archie left Ole Miss in 1970, the program slipped back into anonymity. Winning seasons were few and far between. The Rebels won at least 7 games in all of Archie's years and managed to do so just 6 times between 1970 and 1999. The final few years of the 1900s were particularly crushing to the Rebel faithful, who had to watch one of Archie's sons set records at a neighboring SEC school. That wouldn't be the case for the youngest Manning. He would follow in Dad's footsteps through the square, into the grove, and onto the field at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, where Dad's jersey hung high. It was the dawn of a new millennium in Oxford in 2001 as Eli Manning, then a sophomore, became the starter for the Ole Miss Rebels. Eli piloted wins over LSU and Alabama. Then he threw for 312 yards and 6 touchdowns in a heartbreaking 7-overtime loss to Arkansas. As a junior, Eli led a huge victory over the 6th-ranked Florida Gators, but a second half of the season slide sent the Rebels to the Independence Bowl at just 6-6. All eyes were on the final year of the second Manning era for the Rebels in 2003, and that's where this story begins. Ole Miss stumbled out of the blocks, losing 2 of their first 4 games to Memphis and Texas Tech. But when conference play rolled around, Eli got hot. Ole Miss defeated Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Auburn. And that set the scene for the biggest game in decades for the Ole Miss program. The number 15 Ole Miss Rebels welcomed the number 3 LSU Tigers in a matchup that could clinch the SEC West for the Rebels for the first time ever and give the school a shot at its first SEC title since Archie was a high school freshman. The Tigers were a force, 9-1 overall, 5-1 in SEC play. They had outscored SEC opponents 156-52 and hadn't allowed 20 points to a single opponent all season long. The SEC West title was on the line in Eli Manning's senior day at Ole Miss. Not even Oxford-owned William Faulkner could write a script like that. Clear blue skies and crisp fall air created the setting. So did a sold-out crowd. Ole Miss's offense started inauspiciously with a quick punt, but it was the defense for the Rebels that got things started.
Passing efficiency. Michael Clayton in motion on first down. Malk throws from the end zone. Intercepted. Touchdown, Ole Miss. Travis Johnson.
After a minute and 6 seconds of game time, Matt Malk had spotted the Rebels a 7-0 lead. Though the Tiger defense was garnering all the attention that year, deservedly so, the offense was quietly finding a real groove. Freshman Justin Vincent had emerged as a serious threat, and the combo of Michael Clayton, Devery Henderson, and Skylar Green had created a bevy of big plays in the passing game. Undeterred by the early miscue, the Tiger offense set sail on a 15-play, 52-yard drive that netted a Chris Jackson field goal to cut the lead to 7-3 and settle down a rowdy Vaught Hemingway crowd. As expected, LSU's defense showed up with an edge. Eli and the Rebels only mustered 3 first downs in the first half. They punted 5 times and missed a field goal. The field goal miss would prove costly, as LSU would turn the solid field position into a Tiger lead. Matt Malk piloted a 6-play, 71-yard drive, culminating with the patented slip screen to Michael Clayton.
Second down, quick flip right side. Clayton cuts inside, gets a block, has a touchdown. Rodney Reed was out there, and boy, did he clear the way.
Well, and Michael Clayton waited for it. If he wasn't patient.
10-7 Tigers at the break. Eli had 30 more minutes in Oxford to finish the storybook script. The teams would trade punts to open the second half, and Ole Miss's defense made the first big play of the third quarter.
And they blitz on first down. Mark puts it in the belly, pulls it out, and is intercepted.
Late. Very late on the throw. Now Henderson.
Ole Miss took the football at the 30 with a chance to even the score. That wasn't meant to be.
From the 40.
Could not have come at a better time, though, for the LSU defense.
And here's Manning looking deep left side. Collins,
Webster.
and that one's intercepted by Webster.
What a defense. And that was a forced pass by Eli Manning.
Intercepted by Corey Webster. To follow, punt, 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 punt. The defenses had totally taken over the ball game. And as night fell on Oxford, the teams went to the fourth quarter in a 10-3 slugfest. The first play of the fourth quarter was a 3rd and 7 for LSU from the Ole Miss 47-yard line.
All set to go now. Mogg sets up in the shotgun. And he will roll to the far side. Looks, cocks, and fires. Throws deep. He's got Devery Henderson. He's got it at the 15, 10, 5. He scores! Touchdown, Tigers! 53 yards. Devery Henderson got wide open, and Matt Mogg laid it right in there.
LSU had created separation 17-7 with a quarter to play. It was now or never for Eli. Trailing by 10 with an anxious crowd buzzing, finally Manning stood tall. A defensive holding call got the Rebs rolling, and a drive kick started. And then Manning started to work. 43 yards to Bill Flowers, 12 more to Vashawn Pearson. On 3rd and goal from the LSU 10, Manning found Pearson uncovered in the end zone for a touchdown.
Extra tough.
And they threaten the blitz again. They are coming again. Eli Manning, Pearson, touchdown! All this!
That is how Florida scored against this LSU defense. Picked him.
Ole Miss got the stop it needed on the next drive, and now the stage was set for Eli to engineer the game-winning drive and send the Rebs to Atlanta. 8.5 minutes left, down 3. He'd hit a couple of passes into LSU territory, but on 3rd and 4 from the 18, he rolled left and had to throw it away. So the Rebels trotted out kicker Jonathan Nichols, who was 0 for 1 on the day, but among the nation's best kickers. In fact, he would go on to win the Lou Groza Award in 2003. He would be honored as an SEC legend at the 2019 SEC Championship game, but it was not his night.
6 for the tie. Cody Ridgway is the holder, and here's Nichols' kick on the way, and he left it out to the right. That's 2.
Just 8 weeks after All-American Billy Bennett missed 3 Georgia field goals in Tiger Stadium, the eventual Groza winner had missed a pair of kicks, including that 36-yarder that would have tied the score. But true to its form much of the night, the Ole Miss defense did its job and held LSU to a 3-and-out. And after Donnie Jones' punt, Eli took the field for his final drive in Oxford, down 3 with 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining on the clock at the Ole Miss 32. The script, it's perfect. Incomplete. 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 Timeout. Ole Miss with 1:55 left in the game. Eli and the Rebels retook the field as more than 50,000 Rebel fans looked on at their prodigal son who had returned home, and it was his time to fall down on his ass.
And the pressure is coming. Manning trips.
He got stepped on by his own guy.
It's all over. To the goal.
Tigers win. Tigers win the West. Tigers win the SEC. Tigers win the Natty. Ole Miss hangs an SEC West champions banner in the stadium. We all point and laugh, and that is the end of the storybook script. That day, Eli was 16 out of 36 for 200 yards, had a touchdown and a pick. Ole Miss total had 10 first downs and 8 punts. The entire scene was set, and it all fell apart there at the end for old Eli. And then this week, LSU returns to Oxford, Mississippi on the day that Eli Manning retires his jersey. Perfect scene for LSU to screw it up again. That's one that we will never forget. Eli falling down on 4th down. Appreciate AccuTemp for bringing you Throwback Thursday every single week. I'll tell you a personal story about AccuTemp. I signed up for their club, had a technician come out, was incredibly polite, checked out my entire system, made sure to wear his shoe covers, got up in the attic, checked everything outside, took pictures of everything, walked me through it. I walked outside with him, and I knew that I had recently had my heater and AC checked and knew that I was told everything was in pretty good shape. He came out, didn't try to upsell me on anything, didn't try to confuse me because I didn't know what's going on in a heating AC unit. But he told me, look, everything looks pretty good. Here's a couple of issues. This is what it'll cost. We'll send you an email. If you'd like us to come out and do it, we'd be happy to. And he went on his way. It was a delightful experience, and AccuTemp provides that each and every day. Local company, does a great job, and I've been thrilled with all my interactions with AccuTemp. Was able to tour their facility a couple of weeks back. They've got a great culture over there, and they're a growing Baton Rouge company, and they will give you service to the highest degree, and they give you Throwback Thursday every single week. This week, Eli falling down in 2003, and yet still Ole Miss finds a reason to hang an SEC West champions banner. I don't even know if it's still up there. If it is, that's hilarious. We'll find out this week as LSU goes to Oxford. We'll hear from a former player from that game 15 minutes from right now. Had a little bit of a conflict. We'll get to that at 1:30. This is Hunt and Hill on a Thursday.
Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, Hunt and Hill. We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Coming up on Fridays off the bench, let's celebrate the weekend that will be. Can the Tigers go to Oxford and dominate Ole Miss? And the Degeneration Dome makes its triumphant return. Off the bench, 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
AccuTemp brings you Throwback Thursday every week. Going to save you some money. Look, get your phone out. You're going to want to take advantage of this. Heaters are expensive. We don't need to be replacing heaters if we don't need to. Probably haven't used yours in a while, and around the corner we'll be using it. So get your phone out, and if you text HEATER to 31996, that's the word HEATER to 31996, AccuTemp will come out, and for $59, they'll do a heater system check for you to make sure your heater is up and running as we enter these winter months. You won't want to miss that opportunity. Again, heater to 31996. AccuTemp service to the highest degree. We got one Hunt from the 318 on right now. Let's bring in another. Jack Hunt, who was on the field that day in Oxford, Mississippi, is our guest. Jack, how are you? Thanks so much for some time.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So every week at this time, we go back and look at an old LSU game, and this week is LSU's trip to Ole Miss in 2003. Obviously, y'all were off and running at that point. The Florida game was a bit of a hiccup, but the defense was playing great. The offense was humming on all cylinders, and you were going up there to play an Ole Miss team that had the West on the line if they win that ball game. What do you remember about the way your team was feeling entering that game and what the environment was like that day in Oxford?
Yeah, like you said, we were kind of on a roll that year. We did have a little hiccup with Florida, but we were still, very confident going in that game. We knew we had a good matchup with Eli Manning there, who was playing some really good ball as well. And the atmosphere, it was pretty crazy. We had played at Oxford several times, and it was rocking. No doubt they was the biggest game they'd had there in a long time, and their fans were fired up. I think they were shaking the bus as we were riding in, and a lot of one finger hellos coming in. So they were very fired up. It was a great atmosphere that day for sure.
Well, what's going to fire him up even more is when your quarterback spots him 7 points. He comes out right on the first drive, and I've heard him do interviews about this and talk about it. So I don't mind just phrasing it like that. But throws it right in the belly of an Ole Miss linebacker, and they take a 7-0 lead. I would imagine as a defense that kind of puts you on your heels a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I joke with Matt all the time too. He liked he thought our defense was so good he didn't mind spotting the other team some points and putting us behind the 8-ball. But even with that setback, we were still pretty confident. We had a really good game plan with Eli and a lot of things they were doing, checking the line of scrimmage, and we had multiple plays called on the defensive side. So it was really kind of a fun chess match almost game for the defense.
Obviously, they'll retire Eli's number this week. You played against him a few times. What do you remember about him in college?
About Eli?
Yeah.
Just super smart quarterback. I mean, he progressed a lot in college from, I guess, his sophomore year to his senior year as far as, making good decisions, putting the ball in areas where you couldn't get to it. I specifically remember they had, 2 or 3 third down plays they loved to call on certain down distances. And, you could almost tell when they lined up when they were going to go to him. And, he squeezed 2 balls in windows that I tried to bait him into throwing, and he put it in the only spot I couldn't touch it. And it was really, really aggravating to bait him into the throw and then not even be able to at least break it up, much less not pick it off. So he just got better and better as he went and just didn't make many bad decisions.
I was a high schooler at the time when y'all were going on that run, and so obviously at that point you don't really have anything going on in your life but to pay too much attention to LSU football. But I can recall Florida with Chris Leak throwing that ball to the running back over the middle of the field, then Ole Miss hit it in the middle of the field, and then Oklahoma missed it with a wide-open guy late in that game in the Superdome. Was that something that y'all knew was a vulnerability at times? That's not a question that I think a lot of people will remember, but I certainly do.
Yeah, no, it was. It's kind of one of those deals when you blitz off the edge, depending on where the running back went. If he went outside the tackle, then the blitzer was supposed to pick him up. If he slipped up inside the line, then typically the defensive end was supposed to pick him up, or it could be the linebacker. And they just figured out if they slipped him in the right spot inside, acted like he was going to block, and then released, then it's one of those plays that's hard to cover, and that's definitely a play that a couple teams found towards the end of that year that was probably one of our biggest vulnerabilities.
What made that defense so good? Probably a lot of things, but what specifically?
Well, go back and look at the starters on that defense, and that'll tell you a lot. Our defensive line was, it's got to be one of the top 10 ever with, Marquise Hill, Kyle Williams, Chad Lavallee, Marcus Spears, all of them played in the NFL, have one All-American. All of them were top 4 round draft picks, I think, maybe a first round, second round in there. You look at our secondary was much the same way with Corey Webster, Travis Daniels, LaRon Landry, Randall Gay, who didn't, I don't even know if Randall got drafted, but, God, he played 8 years in the NFL and had a great career. So, we had a lot of talent. We had super strong linebackers, too. Eric Alexander played in the NFL, and so did Cameron Vaughn. So we just had a ton of talent. Looking back, at the time, we thought we were pretty good. But looking back, we had an absolute ton of talent. We had a good scheme. All of us had been in that defense for at least 2 or 3 years. So familiarity with calls, with how things change when people shift and move, how you trade off men. It kind of all added up to, if we had the talent, then we were going to be really good.
Chatting with Jack Hunt, former LSU safety on the 2003 National Championship team, part of Throwback Thursday, looking back at LSU and Ole Miss. I do want to fast forward a few weeks to that Georgia game in the SEC Championship. Obviously, it was an absolute nail-biter. They missed a couple of kicks in Baton Rouge, and y'all got a couple of turnovers, and then it was just not a competition on the floor of the Georgia Dome a couple of weeks later. Why was that?
I don't think Georgia got a lot better throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I think we got a lot better, particularly offensively, from that first game. And they were on offense, very predictable too. I don't know if you remember early in that game, as a third down, LaRon Landry had an interception. That was kind of one of the go-to plays we knew that we had set up and kind of baited them into that throw. I just think we got a lot better. They didn't get much better. They were very predictable, didn't change much from the first game. And the result shows how much better we got and how flat they stayed really that year.
Like your chances with USC that year?
That would have been a heck of a game, that's for sure. They had some stud receivers that were big guys. That would have been a challenge for our secondary like we hadn't seen really all year. But, yeah, it would have been a fun game to play for sure. It would have been a nail-biter.
I like to ask players that played in your era this question because things have changed so much. But when you signed on to play at LSU in 2000, how hard would it have been to imagine the last 20 years of LSU football, winning 3 national championships, the SEC? It just didn't seem possible at that point to a lot of people.
No, I agree. And I'm from Louisiana, North Louisiana, but I wasn't a big LSU guy growing up. But certainly the success we've had has been pretty incredible. I hate to even think that we might have a losing season. Hopefully we won't this year. But no, I agree with you. The success we've had, and not only that, but, on our third coach, 3 different coaches won a national championship. I think it speaks to, a solid foundation of, good administration at the school, as well as obviously some top talent in state. If you can keep it, then you're always going to be pretty good. But it says a lot that we've been able to sustain it this long, and hopefully we can keep it rolling another year. We'll have a new coach and see what happens from there.
Jack, we really appreciate some time. All the best.
All right, man. Thank you for having me.
That is Jack Hunt, former Tiger safety on a national championship team that went up to Oxford and beat Ole Miss to win, just keep Ole Miss from winning the SEC West and put LSU in position to clinch it a couple of weeks later against the Arkansas Razorbacks. We appreciate Jack for jumping aboard and being part of Throwback Thursday, as always, presented by AccuTemp. Let's take a timeout, come back, talk a little LSU and Ole Miss this year, and one portion of the Ole Miss football agenda that I find wildly overrated and really not great at all. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, Hunt and Hill. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, the place that's going to be convenient for you during an inconvenient time. Look, you hear me talk about my four boys all the time, and sometimes things like stitches, well, they happen. And in fact, they have. And Patient Plus is always taking care of us, just like they'll do the same for you. And now with 7 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., 7 days a week. And also at PatientPlusUC.com, you can sign up for your appointment on the way to the clinic. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Tonight, we invite you to celebrate life, wherever and whenever you can, understanding that time is never on our side. Instead, gather up your friends tonight and share a few stories and laughs over a good bottle of wine. Or maybe a family meal that gives everyone a chance to reconnect and remember what's really important, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, or simply to remind someone special that they are loved. Rafino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate.
On Thursdays, early line, we let the dogs out and make some underdog picks for Week 7 in the NFL and Week 8 in college football. Plus, our fantasy football thought of the day and MLB playoff picks with Tyler Moody. Join us at 2 p.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Big Fave going to jump on in about 15 minutes from right now, talking LSU and Ole Miss. I wanted to do a brief segment here about Ole Miss. Look, I think Matt Corral, I've said this, is the best player in the country. I think he's got a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. I think that is absolutely legit. I think Lane Kiffin is among the best play callers that we have in college football. And I think that's 100% legit. And I think Ole Miss has got a chance to win quite a few more games down the stretch here. They're running thin on some injuries, but they've got a dude that can put up 45 on just about anybody, and they don't have to play Alabama the rest of the way. So, yeah, I think it's possible that they lose to LSU. I think it's possible they lose the Egg Bowl on the road. I think it's possible that Auburn gets them or A&M gets them, sure. And that's maybe likely, but they're not overrated from an offensive perspective, and nobody thinks that their defense is very good, so certainly that's not overrated. But there is one overrated aspect of the Ole Miss football program, and I feel very confident in making this argument with anyone. The Grove stinks. Period. When I think of football tailgating, I think of a few things. One, I think about the food. You can't have an open flame in the Grove. It's a bunch of finger sandwiches and Chick-fil-A chicken minis. That sounds like a high school tailgate. Can't cook any jambalaya. There's no gumbo. I mean, I walked by a gator being cooked out there at the corner of South Stadium and Nicholson last week. You can't cook. You also have to hide your alcohol. I've been to the Grove a couple of times of age. You have to take your bourbon out from under the table, pour it in a solo cup, and rehide it. We're supposed to be eating and drinking here. We can't have a flame. We got to hide our drinks. The other part of the aspect of it here is it's so crowded. The tents are like touching each other. There's no room. Everybody's in the same spot. You're like touching at elbows, people you're trying to weave through. It's very difficult. Look at this picture that Taylor's got up. Every tent's like touching you. There's nowhere to go. It's so crowded. Hard. You can't cook. It's cold sandwiches. You have to hide your alcohol and you can't move. It's hard to find people. And then you've got the entire conundrum of the Walk of Champions thing. The champions of what? I realize that I'm not exactly the first person to get on this mantle. But you can enjoy yourself at the Grove because it's football and it's the fall and you can have some drinks and there's friends and family there. You can enjoy yourself in the Grove. But compared to other places to tailgate, I don't think so. It's hard to find people. I don't have any room. I can't cook. It's hard to have food. Not my favorite spot. And I'm someone who, and you would say, oh, look, this is some LSU homer hating on Ole Miss. No, I love rolling Toomer's Oaks and the War Eagle flying down. I think Alabama playing Rammer Jammer when they beat somebody is awesome. I think making someone feel bad for losing a football game is a great idea. I think A&M's marching band rocks. They're unbelievable to watch when they do that weave thing. Nobody hates A&M more than me. They do that. That thing is awesome. It's so cool. The Vol Navy is great. I love Tom Petty in the fourth quarter in Gainesville. Really cool. Won't back down. Mr. Two-Bits, not good. But that's really cool. I think there's a time and place for cowbells. Not during the game. You want to ring them while the team comes in because that's your thing? I think that's all right, fine. Calling the Hogs, I can take it or leave it. But I do really appreciate tradition, even though I hate the teams that have the traditions. The Grove is just overrated. It's not even close to going out on campus at LSU and firing up jambalaya with a full bar and a band and the sights and smells and sounds. You don't have any smells in the Grove because you can't cook anything. Chick-fil-A chicken minis, they're pretty tasty, but they don't have a great aroma that fills the whole air in the fall. So get in, for those that have been to the Grove, get in the Bayou Ford chat on the YouTube channel and talk to me about what you think about these SEC traditions, because I've been to the Grove. I went to LSU Ole Miss in 7, 9, 11, and that's it. I went to those 3. So those 3 times I went to the Grove. I did a bachelor party in Oxford. I love Oxford. The square is awesome. I had a blast at the library when that was the age group that I was in. They've got some really good food around there. Now I'm drawing a blank on that soul food place on the square that's awesome. But the baseball atmosphere in Oxford is unbelievable. I love the beer showers, the family area out in left field. I love the choreographed dances they do with the students. Some people think that's hokey. It's college baseball. It's more emotion. It's not like going to the Pittsburgh Pirates versus Cincinnati Reds game. Not like Dodger Stadium. It's an interactive family environment where the students can have a blast. I think it's great. All that's really good. So there's so much to like about Ole Miss. The Grove is not one of them for me. It's just not where I want to tailgate. If I was tailgating in Oxford, I'd find an empty spot. Have a little bit more fun. Just my thoughts on the Grove. We'll talk about some actual football stuff on tomorrow's show, and I look very much forward to that. But to finish up today's show of Hunt Solo with No Hill, Marlon Favorite from the LSU Sports Radio Network will jump aboard. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
Holding down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark in studio, our Fantasy Blitz, and a closer look at the Ole Miss Rebels. Join us Thursday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Winding down a Thursday edition, getting closer to a football weekend. Tigers and Rebels, 2:39 actually, from Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. That puts me and my partners in crime, Brandon Taylor, and our next guest, Marlon Favorite, on the air at 12:30 from Cards and Culture over in Perkins Road. Big Fave, how we doing?
Man, all is good, man, on the beautiful West Bank here. Just enjoying myself, getting ready to check out my son's game tonight. You got their homecoming, man, to play against Haynes. So a little Thursday night football action here. Hello.
Gonna get a W tonight?
Well, if they don't do that, that'll be an issue going to the playoffs here soon, because Haynes, not really a big-time team. It's like a little district game for them, so they should get a big win tonight.
There you go. Well, speaking of getting big wins, LSU did that back against Florida on Saturday in a way that I don't think any of us could have predicted, running the football for a record behind Ty Davis-Price and that offensive line. What did you see that you liked from LSU's front?
Well, I want to start with the offensive line being able to dominate up front. They completely dominated Florida's defensive line pretty much the whole game, and it showed in Ty Davis-Price breakout record game for a single game rushing yardage. So that's something that really stood out to me, Hunt, you and I, and Brandon, and even when we had G on, that's something we constantly talked about, LSU being able to perform better in the blocking run game, and they did that.
I think it was such a relief for Ty Davis-Price. It had to be very difficult for him over the first month and a half of the season to have the lack of success that he had, and for him to break through. You got to feel good for the guy.
You do. He's a Baton Rouge native, played at Southern Lab. Had so much success coming in on a pretty much perfect LSU team, getting some snaps, getting some reps on a college level. Him and John Emery both did exceptionally well that year. And then there was last year for him, and it was a down year, and then coming into a down year, starting off this season. But those last 2 weeks, actually, even in a loss against Kentucky, you could see him starting to build more confidence, run a lot harder, and then set that record on last Saturday was just phenomenal. And I think he gets better as the year goes. So I think, and of course, Healy can appreciate that. We'll get back to that. Quietly just kept running back you as well in terms of getting Ty back in the full swing the rest of the season.
So you kind of alluded to it there, but do you think that LSU can sustain that running attack and build on that, or do you think that was kind of a one-time deal?
I think they can sustain on it. I think they can build on it because of the guys on that team. You have a guy like Ed Ingram up front. This is his senior year. He wants to help his draft stock. He's one of the top interior linemen in the SEC right now. He's going to block hard. He's going to get those guys up front motivated to do likewise. So I do think this team gets better in that regard. Now, of course, you do have to look at the remainder of the schedule. They get a break, and then there's Alabama, Arkansas, UL, and Texas A&M. So, we could very well, after this break, go on a 2-2 or a 3-2 run. Even if we're lucky, a 3-1. Not just keep dancing around the Alabama game. Watch out there now, but they're beatable, right? I mean, they lost to Texas A&M. I'm sorry, honey, I didn't mean to say that name on the
yeah,
show.
exactly. Take it easy.
So I feel confident. I don't have high expectations on LSU to just look like the 2019 team again, but I do see a team that's improving, a team that's going through a lot right now, obviously, with everything going on, but showed us on Saturday that they're still a competitive team, showed us that we still have some of the best athletes in college football, and showed me that gives all of us, really, LSU fans all across the world, especially here in the great state of Louisiana, a breath of fresh air, because they're going to definitely represent moving forward. That's what they showed on Saturday, at least.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. What do you think is the mindset of this team right now? I've touched on that at the beginning of the show today, talking about how difficult it's going to be for some of these assistants who very likely need to look for new jobs this coming spring, new places to live this coming spring. You got players who some are on their way out, some may decide to transfer because they committed to a certain player. They don't know who their coach is going to be, but they've got a task at hand to play football. Where do you think their mind is?
I think their mind is on making the best business decision, and the best business decision is to figure out ways to win. Whatever's going to happen next year, go out with a blast. And, of course, we may hear more of guys wanting to jump in the transfer portal, or, some guys just really trying to just level it out and finish strong. So I think, you look at a locker room like this, no high expectations, you're not ranked, but you have guys still wanting to be competitive. So I think the locker room attitude right now is, especially with the leadership, it's like, hey, guys, let's finish strong. I know it's a lot of outside chatter. That's totally fine. We're going to do what we have to do to make sure the 11 that's on the field from LSU at that time is performing at their best and beating their opponent. And if they continue that attitude, make it more about a unit, all 11 guys linked in, I do think we will surprise a lot of folks moving forward after this bye week, starting this weekend against Ole Miss. This is a team that, Matt Corral's availability for the game has been danced around all week. Lane Kiffin's a little worried about him, and that'll definitely help boost us if he's not playing, right? So I'm just excited to see these guys roll.
He's going to play, and so when you look at LSU's defense that's given up 42 points in back-to-back games, do you have some concerns about this unit and Durante Jones's defense?
After last week, I again, like the offense, I have a little more confidence, but they're going to have to play mistake-free football because that guy can run it at any moment. He's been a better passer this year, and they have balance on offense. So they're going to have to go out there and play assignment ball and be as error-free as possible, huh? Because if you look at it like this, the defensive line played much better last week on the run game. I'll start with Neil Farrell up front. Real spill, right? He did. So as that energy goes across the line and those guys paying attention on the option, not losing contain on the quarterback, getting after it on the pass rush, that'll only build the offense up. We know LSU can put up 49 points, huh? How about that, right? So we could go north of 40. So that puts us inching in to compete against a very talented Ole Miss team. So it's a lot on the defense. I know we talked about the offensive line getting better, and the run game is a little more effective the last two games, but that defense has a huge responsibility coming up in this game.
You feel better about it than I do. The more I look at this for LSU's defense, as banged up as they are and the performance they've put out the last 2 weeks, with this Ole Miss offense that's cooking, that to me sounds like trouble.
It does. It does. And I guess just, talking to the player, talking to Jaquelin, him and Mason was together, they're starting to get it. They sound more excited. They're happy about what's going on. it doesn't look good on paper, huh? We've seen Ole Miss. Ole Miss have only lost one game this year, and that was to Alabama. You know, beating, of course, Tulane, and early in the year Arkansas and Tennessee. But you know, this is a team that they have an identity on offense. They have a defense that'll rally around the ball. So, but this is also an LSU team that's a little motivated right now. Hey, we beat Florida, which doesn't say a lot on a national scale because Florida was to the bottom of the top 25. But for this LSU team, with all this LSU team is going through, to go out and put out a performance like they did at home in front of their home crowd, gives me a little confidence with them going into this game, especially with the athletes we have.
How big a difference did Glenn Logan make?
Huge difference up front. Huge difference up front. You get a veteran back. That's one of those guys off of that national championship team, had playing reps right here out of Destrehan, Louisiana. He's had those snaps. You know, you needed that. It helps the guys around him. How big of an influence is Glenn on Jaquelin and on Mason and the younger guys on the line? Look at Ali BJ Ojulari. He's having an exceptional year, starting to pick up the sack games. I mean, if he goes out there on one, that helps us as well too. So those little big pieces, like getting Glenn Logan back, BJ Ojulari is excited about his performances up front, getting these sacks, you know, and everybody's hungry. Now you got that LSU defensive line there, and hey, that's Coach Ezzo's MO, right? D-line. So, you know, he gets his guys back healthy, and now we go on the road and out in Oxford and just make it do what it do. Hello.
I'm sure you played against quarterbacks who we know were not 100%. You know that entering the game. Does that change the way you play defense?
It does, huh? It really does, because if he's not 100%, what we've seen on tape, more than likely we're not going to see in the game. So him being able to burst out of the pocket, how he usually bursts out over the edge, gives us more of a competitive edge with him not being as mobile as he was at 100%. So that contained thing that we're talking about, and being able to rush to the upfield shoulder of the quarterback and make a play is a lot easier, because he's going to have to not depend on his feet so much, right, but depend on the running game. And depend on, staying in the pocket and making that pass. And if he's sitting in the pocket and not as mobile, that gives our front seven really, because, Coach Jones may want to send a linebacker just to mix up the blitz. So I think if you look at it from that perspective, with him being banged up from a former defensive lineman, we know we get a different quarterback. It's not going to be the same guy that we've seen in our previous games 100%.
You got a thought on Saints Seahawks on Monday?
I'm bucked up about it. I like the Saints on the road. Of course, with Russell not playing, that's a deep breath we could take, because we know how that guy can get when he get rolling. So I think the Saints on a Monday night do exceptionally well. I don't think we score a whole boatload of points. I don't think we put up 40 points, but I think our defense comes out and pretty much prevent them from doing what they're pretty good at, and that's getting the ball to guys like Tyler Lockett and, giving Geno Smith a little time in the pocket. Geno is a guy that has some experience as an NFL starter, and he can do. He's not Russell, but he's capable. But the Saints are healthy, getting some guys back on both sides of the ball, so that's good. Most importantly, potentially getting Eric McCoy back and Teron Armstead. Those are two guys that are much needed. Got our boy, man, going out to Bellevue by the homie, man, Jamal Adams, a.k.a. the best thing in the league. What he said, best thing in the nation.
Hey,
so
we'll see you at 12:30 on Saturday at Cards and Culture.
Peace. 12:35.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's unacceptable. We'll see you at 12:30. All right, Faye? Y'all get a win tonight. See you. Marlon Favorite from the LSU Sports Radio Network. All right, this is the time in the show where, generally speaking, on Thursdays, I make my Survivor pick. I was going to wait for Jeremy to come back, but I'll slip this in anyway. Last week, I took the Rams, and they won. That's awesome, staying alive. And then I checked our sheets, and I looked at my picks, and I took the Rams in week 1. So I am eliminated from the Survivor after week 6 because I took a team I already taken. It's right there on the sheet, and I didn't take it. I'll let Jeremy rib me a little bit for that when he comes back from vacation, but I'm coming forward. I'm being truthful. I'm not trying to cheat the system. I'm eliminated from Survivor this week because, well, I took a team that I had already taken, and it's week 6. It doesn't seem like that would be very hard to fall in line. Missed any of our show today, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com or on YouTube. Appreciate everybody for getting into the Bayou Ford chat. Opened the show talking about how it's a tough time for everybody in the LSU football ops building and what I noticed when I went up there yesterday and had some conversations. So a little bit of a more off sports topic there to start the show. We talked a little bit of Heisman in hour 1 as well as our Super Bowl chances, and then I gave you my thoughts on Adam Miller missing the season for LSU basketball. I think it is a big loss. I outlined the guys that they're going to ask to step in and what roles and kind of what I feel about that. So if you missed some of that in the first hour, it's right there at the end of it. Of course, Throwback Thursday presented by AccuTemp, service to the highest degree. That was at the start of hour number 2. It's LSU and Ole Miss 2003. Eli's storybook ending with him sitting on the field after falling down. Jack Hunt joined us to talk about that. He joined us at 1:15. Big Fave to finish up the show. T-Bob is with me tomorrow from 12 to noon, looking from 12 to 2. Looking forward to that. Today, Matt Moscona driving you home from 3 to 6. It'll be Jimmy Ott's Game Time from 6 to 8. The boys are next. They've got your early line. It's Mario and Musso. Thanks so much to Mike Patel and to Taylor Sharp for jumping aboard with me. And thank you all for listening. Just a solo edition.